Welcome to Reverent and Rebellious, a safe space for faith-based conversations on the things that nobody seems to want to talk about these days. We are reverent, we value truth, we elevate scripture, but we are also rebellious. We shatter myths and we destroy dogma, so jump in. Join us, Logan, Pat, and me, the brother Peter, as we get reverent and we get rebellious.
What's up, everybody?
Well,
not the temperature. How about this?
here we are.
I am pleased.
Me too.
A little frost on the pumpkin tonight.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Here we are in the middle of, well, it is the middle of fall.
That's
it's not
it.
quite winter yet.
Yep.
Just a couple of days away from Thanksgiving.
I know.
I get to be a glutton because America says so.
That's exactly right.
Man,
okay with it.
we had a thing this past weekend. I've already had one round.
Really?
Yep.
Was it good?
It was. I always destroy some food. That's what
Man, I'm going to tell you guys right now, Drew Mathis made a turkey at Friendsgiving.
Really?
And oh my goodness, it was so good. Drew, kudos to you. I mean, it was juicy. It was fantastic.
My cousin hates, he wants to change. He doesn't want turkey ever. He wants prime rib to be the official
I like
turkey,
prime rib.
or it to be the new turkey of Thanksgiving, because he's like, nobody really likes turkey, because if they did, you would eat it more than one time a year.
I eat turkey more than one time a year.
You deep fried turkey more than one time a year?
No. I go cheap with turkey throughout the year.
So
then I get expensive turkey on
what kind of turkey do you eat throughout the year?
Man, you get like the deli slice turkey.
No. He's talking going through.
But think about it. You go to the carnival, you get a turkey leg, right?
I don't ever go to the carnival.
Well, you need to get out more.
I don't have my calliope and go in the carnival.
Well, I go looking for these calliope players because who knows, they're going to turn out to be the next Satanist. So they got to be stopped.
Yeah.
Man, we had a great episode last week.
We did.
Man, that was crazy.
Scientology, man. I got to read some of these comments.
And I'm pumped. Before Pat gets into reading those, we're pretty pumped. We had pretty darn good views on the Scientology when people are really intrigued by Scientology.
You know what, though, Logan? It may be that they're coming after us.
That may be. We might have rattled some cages.
I know. That might be their secret.
I did get some weird random phone calls.
Well, I will tell you this. You and Zunu and whoever that drops people in volcanoes, come find me.
Xenu.
Yeah, we can have some conversations.
Hey,
I'm completely okay with
before you get to hear these, we need you to hit that thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell, and comment below to us. And leave us a rating and review. Even if you're watching this on YouTube, you have an iPhone, jump over on Apple Podcasts.
Do it.
Look us up. Leave us a 5-star rating.
Yep.
If you don't have an iPhone, jump over on Spotify. Leave us a rating. Guys, like we said before, it really helps. So do the things. So
my chair's sinking.
Yeah, you just keep fighting it. It's just going to keep going.
Xenu got you.
Yes.
All right. So Aunt Ruby says, this was interesting. Definitely a cult. We agree. But the members aren't the vulnerable type that you usually expect to be susceptible to a cult.
Yeah.
I don't get it. The longer I live and learn, the more I realize I don't know anything. Amen.
Ain't that the
Amen.
truth?
Yes.
Well, they are vulnerable just in different ways,
Right.
apparently.
Yeah. Yep.
Rhonda says, just saying, I imagine everyone has a secret desire to belong to an organization in which we have the opportunity to level up.
Level up.
Also, South Park is the best, Logan.
Yes.
And
it is.
I agree with both of those.
Yeah, completely.
All right. And we had a little bit of an issue, so let me go to the second list of comments.
Yeah, for people wondering why there's two of that, one of them, it kind of shortened the end off.
Well, it cut off the last 15 minutes.
Yeah.
That's what it did. And some of the stuff in the last 15 minutes was pretty good.
Yeah.
So those of you who got the shortened version, just go give us another view and cut to that last 15 minutes.
Yeah.
All right, so our buddy Jay, welcome back, Jay.
Yes,
We're glad
Jay.
to see you.
Yes.
We can be your friend again.
We
He
love
says,
Jay.
I literally couldn't afford this religion.
Same.
Maybe I'll start my own cult with blackjack and Harry Potter movies. What's funny is when me and Jade played the first ever youth camp with Holly Grove together, we were playing, I don't remember the name of the game, but it was like most likely to do XYZ and everyone had to vote. And Jade was most likely to start a cult.
All right.
And then our dear friend Amber, she said, "Great episode."
Oh, thank you.
Thank
Amber.
you. Thank you.
Yes. We got a little community growing here.
Yep.
So y'all need
Yep.
to tap into that, and you need to come be a part of our wild expedition and all the things we explore.
At bare minimum, just come see me and Logan be stupid.
Yes.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Peter, we pretty well said off air, Peter is the smart one.
He's the smart one.
And I feel like Pat is
That's a
in
pretty
this.
low bar.
And then I feel that Pat is below Peter, and then I'm the like bottom rung of the ladder.
What's funny is because you're sitting in front of the control panel. We're the
Yeah.
one letting you drive this.
I got
thing.
it offset to the side a little bit here. Yeah.
You're the guy that has the role of saying, "What the crap is that all about?"
That's what I am.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
exactly.
just I'm the average Joe. That's what I like to say. So before we get into that, I want to
gotta-
know
what?
the joke.
Oh, I got three. I got
Okay.
three.
All right.
Three little. This first one's just kind of a warm up. What do you feed an alligator?
Alligator food.
Anything he wants.
Fair enough.
That is, yes,
Fair
that's
enough.
accurate.
Checks out.
Okay, so what has 5 toes and is not your foot?
I don't know.
My foot.
Ah,
I was trying to think. I knew it
I
was
know.
going to get me.
I know.
fair enough. Fair enough.
Here's the best one. I saved it for last. Where do you take someone who has been involved in a peekaboo accident?
I don't know.
The ICU.
Dang it.
Why did I
Man.
not get
I
that?
know. I want to get them so badly.
So Peter was like, they just called themselves stupid. Watch this.
Yes. I'm about to
Really
prove
stupid.
it.
Hold my root beer.
Yes.
Oh,
Dang.
thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Come on. That was a pretty good one.
That was
Yeah,
the ICU. That is
I
good.
didn't see it coming.
I did not either. That
So
one
bad.
that one.
That's the only thing that makes it funny is you just don't know what's coming.
You don't.
I
Yeah.
know.
So what are we talking about tonight?
Oh man, we are going to talk about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Oh, okay. So we can really make everybody mad before the holiday
We
season.
really can.
Yes.
We really
Yes.
can.
At least Utah.
A lot of people know them as the Mormons. They don't prefer to be called the Mormons.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They don't like that.
They want to be associated with Jesus Christ.
Yep.
Yeah. Well,
Jesus Christ is what is it? The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah.
LDS for short.
LDS.
Yep.
Yeah. That, and it is interesting. I'm excited for this one. I was telling them I have not had the chance to really nerd out on it, but I know that I've seen several Mormons on social media and they call themselves Christians.
Yes,
You
absolutely.
want to know something that was weird in studying for this podcast, though?
What's that?
Is there are more documentaries on Mormons and LDS than there was Scientology and Satanism.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure.
That
Well,
blew my mind.
they are one of the, if not the second largest landowners in the country. They went up against Bill Gates here recently on about 20 or 30,000 acres. That's farming's my wheelhouse, and there was 20 or 30,000 acres somewhere, and it was out west that went up for bid. It was a cattle operation, and the two bidders that were going against each other was the Mormon Church and Bill Gates, and they outbid Bill Gates.
That does not
That's
surprise
saying
me.
something.
Yeah, they got some cheese.
Oh, and
Homemade.
they have a very, very high priority on buying up land,
Yes.
which we'll explore here and as we walk our way through this story a little bit. So just tell me right off the bat, what do you know about the LDSs?
Lindsay Sterling, the violin player,
Yeah.
she's Mormon and she's outstanding.
Okay.
Yeah, but other than that, gold tablets, reading from a hat. It's a lot of weird stuff.
Yeah.
And you have to take your time to really, you got to reread it, should I say. You got to reread it because you really can't believe it at face value.
Yeah,
What do you know about Mormons? Do you know some Mormons?
I do know some Mormons.
And are they nice people?
Yes,
Yeah.
they are. They are nice people. I know they have a pretty wild history because I love the show Hell on Wheels. Have you ever seen that?
I have.
And that, the Mormon church is they're a powerhouse back in the day when they were building the railroads coming across, and they were brutal, man. I mean, you didn't mess with the Mormons.
It's true.
I mean, could you cause that much trouble in the world? And was it a guy you really wanted to mess with if you had 5 wives?
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, come on, man. Like, I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's going to be an issue too as we move forward, because the founder is Joseph Smith.
Mm-hmm. JoJo.
And it was documented that he had over 40 wives.
Wow, man.
I couldn't imagine 4. I can't imagine another one other than the one I got.
I barely keep my wife
That's
happy.
exactly right.
Most days we don't.
And if you
Yes.
talk to her,
Yes.
I was gonna say,
Yeah, she might say, what?
we're like a D
you do
plus.
what now?
Yeah.
I know. I know. So yeah, Joseph Smith. And so you might be asking the question, where in the world did all this come from? And what's it all about? Well, we're going to do our best. But we are really just going to scratch the surface. We're going to try to hit all the high points.
Yeah.
But there are so many different levels on this. It is, boy, I'll tell you, this is not a rabbit hole. This is open face mining.
Well,
Yeah.
because it's split rather early, right?
Well, it didn't split until a particular time. And then it was like, there are several different denominations of Latter-day Saints.
And it went out so many different ways.
Yes,
but it
but
was mainly 2 big factions, right?
yeah, but they all, hold the issues are very fringe.
Mm-hmm.
The core beliefs are all still the same.
Gotcha.
You can wander into any LDS gathering and you'll experience the same teachings.
Gotcha.
Basically,
Gotcha.
it's more of the peripheries.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is a very fundamentalist LDS that still practices polygamy.
Wow.
And then there are much more, they've got all these things about you're not supposed to drink hot drinks.
Really?
No coffee,
No
no
coffee.
tea. Mm-mm.
But you can drink a cold coffee?
No,
Maybe.
you can't. No, I thought it was you can't have any addictive substance.
That's right. Caffeine is off the table.
Wow. What about sugar?
So no hot water.
Oh, sugar is not addictive, Logan. Didn't you know that?
Yeah. Okay. So it's more like Republican, Democrat, but they're still Americans.
Yeah, and the more progressive, shall we say, denominations, they're perfectly okay with drinking coffee and tea and Dr. Pepper and all that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
It sort of runs that sort of spectrum. More practices than anything else.
I think that the Mormons, one of the things that they do well is they try to put on a very normal face on the outside.
Don't we all though?
I mean, they
But
are.
I think they really do well.
Well, they're very, very focused on family.
Yeah.
Family is super important, and we'll understand why in just a second.
A lot of homeschooled.
But well, let's put it this way: 51% of Mormons will say that it is important to have a family night once a week to be a good Mormon.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then there's like 30% that say it's good, but it's not crucial. It's not a deal breaker.
Yeah.
So you got like 81 to 90% in there that
Acknowledge
they're focused on they try to keep that once a week family night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are, of course, they're clean living, no cussing, no smoking, no drinking.
Hey,
all that
I'm
stuff.
disqualified pretty quick.
I know.
Yeah. I need my nicotine. I'm
Yeah.
out.
Pat does need his nicotine.
Yeah, and they, I mean, they're very clean cut. They're dressed well. Every young person is supposed to go on a mission trip. Could be 1 year. Most of the time, it's 2.
Wow.
Really?
And one of the guys that I was watching one of these videos a couple of days ago, he spent his whole mission trip in Tijuana. 2 years in Tijuana.
Dang. Like all like in a like consecutive.
Yeah,
Respect.
Wow.
Tijuana's nasty.
You usually go as a guy. You usually go on your mission trip when you're 19, and they travel by bicycle, and they wear white short sleeve shirts and black ties.
Did he bike into Tijuana?
Once he got there.
Wow.
Yeah,
Hey, how do we get our people to be at least that dedicated?
that's what I'm talking about.
That's one of the things that's frustrated me with so many of the cults and all even when we went back to like
They
our
are
other
dedicated.
stuff, they're all dedicated.
Yeah,
it's like,
they really
man,
are.
we can blast on them for being odd, but it's like these people are dedicated.
Consistent.
Yep.
Yeah.
I read an interesting statistic about the Christian church yesterday.
Uh-oh.
That it was talking about what qualifies you as a faithful church attender. Mm-hmm. And it was hilarious because apparently 51% of pastors say a faithful church attender goes twice a month. But 79% of the attenders said no, every week is a faithful attender.
So they're not
50% of them. So the 50% that was there.
The pastors are the ones with the lower standards. It's like, I thought that was very interesting.
That is.
Yeah, you show up half the time, we'll be okay.
Yeah.
Maybe the pastors are more realistic.
They very well could be. Yes, very well. Yeah, like Moses. This is a stiff-necked people.
It's
funny, but we're talking about you.
That's
show
exactly
up.
right. Yes, but Mormons, they 100% attendance.
That's awesome.
They just don't miss. Yeah.
Oh, they're dedicated.
Yeah,
they are.
They are required to, the faithful ones, the ones that are into it. They have a 2-year supply of food.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can get down with
I
some
don't have
some
a
prep.
2 weeks.
I know. Yeah. 2-year supply of food.
Hey.
I had a friend who was a drummer, played in our band way back in the day, and his family was Mormon. And you go to their house, and every Mormon house that they knew, they got a
cupboard kind of thing.
Yeah, they got a bomb shelter and a basement, and 2-year supply. That's a lot of food.
That is a lot of food.
Yeah. They're very into sort of communal living. They're very well connected, tight community.
See, I'm a very good Cumberland Presbyterian. I'm just going to wait till crap hits the fan and then come get your stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Jesus said you're supposed to share.
You're supposed to share. That's exactly right with me.
Do you want to, before we get into that, you want me to tell you some well-known Mormons?
Yes, let's do that.
Let's do it, yeah.
All right, two right off the bat
Donnie
here.
and Marie, right?
Donnie and Marie Osmond.
Yeah.
Then David Archuleta.
Arguably the most famous.
Oh, completely. Yeah. Foster children.
David Archuleta. I've heard that name.
He was the American Idol guy.
Yeah. Of course, Mitt Romney.
Yep. Mitt. Who names that kid Mitt?
Mitt, a Mormon.
A baseball fan.
Yes. John Huntsman Jr. It says former governor of Utah.
Oh, well, there you go.
That makes sense.
That's a surprise.
Wow. Steve Young. NFL quarterback.
I knew that. Now that you say that name, I knew that at the time. Yes.
That kind of trips me out.
He graduated from BYU. It was a big star.
Okay. There you go again.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Okay. See, sports statistics kick in.
How about it?
Ty Detmer. I don't know him. That's another quarterback.
Another quarterback, yeah.
And then Stephanie Meyer, the author of Twilight.
Wow.
The book series. That's not a very clean living book.
Yeah, but that makes a lot of sense the way it's all tribalism, the way it's set up.
The Twilight show?
Yeah, I slept through most of it, so I might be. Stacey, I'm sorry. I tried. I can see it.
It's been a long time since I've watched them, but I need to go watch them with the
one Sunday
through a Mormon lens.
One Sunday we came home and there was a marathon on. And I remember I hit the couch and my cousin Josh was with us. And me and Josh, we just got done playing a worship set. We walked in at the same time. And Stacy's like, hey, the Twilight series is on. And simultaneously, I was like, man. And Josh was like, sweet.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? And so, I hit the couch and I sleep for 3-4 hours, wake up, and they're all into it.
Yeah. Dude, I got a funny story on Twilight. The first one, I think it came out. I was in EMT school, and this was back when they used to do the midnight releases on a Thursday night. They do the midnight release. Well, I was not dating my now wife at the time. And me and my buddy Kevin that were in EMT school together were like, hey, the midnight showing of Twilight's out tonight. We might go pick up some women. So we got out of school and met up there at midnight.
And they thought y'all were the women.
No, well, what was funny was it was so crowded that they told you where to sit. So me and Kevin show up, and they're literally like, "Here you go." And me and him just had to sit by each other, and we ended up just, it's a pretty good movie. We kind of enjoyed the movie. We did not pick up any women. We just ended up, 2 dudes went to see Twilight at midnight.
That should be the top of the list of stories you never tell again.
Yes. Glenn Beck. I was pretty sure he was.
Yeah. The news anchor.
Yep.
Wow.
And then the last one is Sherry Dew. I don't know. It says author and CEO of Deseret Book Company, but there's a few Mormons. I'm sure that we could look up a lot more, but
I like that some
It's
of
interesting.
them are famous for being Mormons, like the governor of Utah.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
And I mean, how typical, governor of Utah.
I wonder how many governors of Utah have been Mormon.
Yes, I would like to know that.
Probably a
Then
lot.
it's a high percentage.
yeah.
At least at the turn of the century.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because it's still, is that the, I wonder if that's the most prominent religion or whatever you want to call it in Utah.
I'm sure.
Absolutely.
I'm sure. Yeah.
There is that's what their headquarters are.
Yeah, that's
a
it's
stronghold.
it's everywhere you go. It's interesting because we played in Utah many times.
Yeah.
Played in Salt Lake City, played in Provo, all those towns. And we would sometimes play in these arenas, but then other times we would play in some of the large show rooms, show clubs, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like, just a very large bar.
Yeah.
And when you go in, you have to be, the law is you have to be a member. You have to have a membership in that particular establishment. And so in order to go in and buy drinks. And so the process was the hostess would stand at the hostess table, and you go in and they say, may I see your membership card? And it's like, oh, I didn't know. I'm not a member. And they say, well, would you like to be one? Yes, I would. They hand you a card. You can sign your name. Okay.
Now you remember. Wow. Okay.
So, do you have membership cards in these places?
I'm quite sure that I do.
Oh, that is
Wow.
awesome.
Yeah, because we were playing there. Then
Yeah.
I got I can come in the back way, but I was actually coming in the front way. And
That
it
is
was
awesome.
like, okay, so now that's
How many, all right,
Peter successfully infiltrated them
I
way
did.
before we thought
He
about
did.
it.
Yeah.
Utah has had a total of 18 governors. How many of the 18 do you think have been Mormon?
18.
What do you think?
I'm guessing 15.
You're dead on. 15. It says only 3 governors of Utah were not Mormon.
See,
And that was like 2 of them were in the 20s and the 30s. And it says their current governor, Spencer Cox, is a Mormon.
Wow.
The Mormons got Utah locked down. Man.
Absolutely.
Golly.
Yes, they do. So we have to talk about this guy, Joseph Smith, just a little bit.
Yeah, OG.
Yeah. Now, you remember back when we started when we did the denomination series.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know about that, go back. We
You
went
got to
down.
listen to them.
Yeah, they're really.
I wish they could see
Amazing.
the flow chart we had.
Oh,
Yes.
I know.
Yes.
Crazy. Anyway, so this would have been this was the early 1800s. So this was like, the holiness movement was going on. There was revival preaching everywhere.
Yeah.
And everybody was talking about apocalyptic things, like the end of the world and the second coming of Christ. And I mean, it was it was just on everybody's minds, lips, hearts, everything.
Yeah.
We've come so far.
Oh yeah, right. So
Yeah.
and
Nobody talks about
so-
that anymore.
Joseph Smith was born to a mother who was all into this stuff.
Okay.
Just going to all these meetings and talking about the end times. And his dad was like, no religion. It was just like,
Whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, he grew up in this kind of hybrid environment, but in upstate New York, specifically in Manchester, New York, this was so prevalent in their whole region. This was known as burned over ground.
Wow.
All right.
Because there'd been so much hellfire and brimstone preached in this area that had just been burned over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
And so, it's like all the revival preachers wanted to go through there because you could always draw a crowd. You could always have success. And he's like, this is low hanging fruit right here.
Also, the burned over ground didn't mean that nobody came.
No, it meant it was hot, man. It was, but it was just like overdone. It was just
Yeah.
like,
I just love that someone come up with that name back then.
I
That's
know.
awesome.
I
Yeah.
know. So anyway, you can imagine that Joseph Smith grew up a little bit curious and a little bit confused.
Yes.
And so at 14 years old, he finally kind of got interested in this whole religious thing and the whole phenomenon of it.
You say at 14?
At 14.
Okay.
Yeah. And so he decided to go out into the woods, into a grove of trees to pray. He wanted to pray and ask God which church to join, which was the true church. And he
So did he believe? So he believed in God at this point.
he was beginning to believe in God. Yes.
Yeah.
And he says, his story is that he was visited in that moment by God the Father and Jesus Christ. And that Jesus spoke to him and said, don't join any of them. There is no true church. They've all been corrupted. So that was...
They forget the part where he was like starving and he was looking for something to eat and there was this odd mushroom. So I think that one's good. He ate
I
it.
think that's a good one. Yeah, exactly. So
I mean, that sounds like a solid Christian background.
Absolutely. They call this the first vision, which is a very innovative name.
That
the first
is.
vision.
It's creative.
Yeah, and he says also that that at some point after that, he was out in the same grove of trees, and the apostles, the original OG apostles, came to him and laid their hands on him and anointed him and gave him authority, gave him apostolic authority.
I don't know what kind of tree this was.
I know.
So it's like something we haven't seen since Paul.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay.
So he was a prophet.
Yeah, and so what happened there then?
All this is at 14.
Okay. And then it just kind of goes from there. Now, here's another thing you need to know about this region at this time is they were very much into hunting for treasure. Okay, so
Same.
yeah, absolutely. And they hunting for treasure. Sometimes they'd find Indian artifacts. Sometimes there was every now and then it was just enough to keep everybody going.
Yeah.
Curse of Oak Island South edition.
And so they started using mysticism and magic and mysticism.
They went dabbling.
They did. They actually did.
That's a very good point.
And so they would use these different, you know how back in the day they used to find water with the dowsing rod.
Yeah, they would cross paths. People still do that.
I know.
Wile E. Coyote did it.
Is
all
that
the
demonic?
Heck, I don't know.
I'm just saying. I've
If
seen
my
Wile E.
plumber
Coyote do
busts that out, am I supposed to be like, in the name of Jesus?
That is not holy water.
I revoke you.
Yeah. So he.
Oh, we're stupid.
I'm trying to find the what he
Peter's
called
like,
this
I got to
thing.
get these two idiots back on track.
It starts with an M.
Well, there was a
Talking about the angel.
he used to use this seer stone.
Oh yeah.
Man,
find
this
treasure.
dude has all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. And it was a chocolate colored, not covered, colored, sort of egg-shaped stone that he polished. And this was his seer stone. And he claimed to be, this was later in his teenage years, he claimed to be able to locate treasure with this seer stone. It would help him. He could actually see through it. He would put it into a stovepipe hat.
Yep.
And he would put his whole face in there. And he said no light, and he'd be able to see things in this seer stone.
I'll tell you, this was a weird kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
heavily
weird.
into
weird
But he
kid.
wasn't the only one doing this stuff. He's just the only one that turned it into a religion.
Yeah.
So
He's just the only one that followed L. Ron Hubbard's advice.
So in 1823, he was visited by an angel.
Man, a lot of visitors. This guy's popular.
You talking about Urim and Thummim?
We're going to get to that.
Okay.
Because this makes it even better.
Crystal gazing and Skyrim.
And the angel's name was Moroni. Moron. Moron.
I was going to say, that seems real close to moron.
Moroni.
Moron.
I used to think it was Moroni, but it's not Moroni. It's Moroni.
Yeah, it's like pig Latin.
I'd like Moroni
I
better.
moron.
Macaroni.
Macaroni.
So it says that the angel Moroni appeared to him and told him that there was a stone box buried on a hill very near his house. Okay, so this goes on for quite some time because he's told that he can't go recover the box until he's a certain age, but he's supposed to go tell his father, and he's supposed to not let anybody else know. All this stuff, sort of runs together. So he finally, at age 21, goes to visit this hill behind his house. Now, his dad actually bought this whole story.
Well, I was about to ask. I want to know, what does his dad say?
His dad was like cool with it because I'm sure he's thinking, hey, treasure.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, go for it.
How old was he, I wonder, at that point? Because he had to wait till 21. You think he was like 18?
Well, I don't remember all the exact, but there were like 3 or 4. There was a time when his dad tried to get him to go find it. Yeah. There was a time when
that's why I was asking.
Yeah.
Like, is he like, dang, we got to wait 4 years for that treasure?
It was about right. Yeah. And so he said He said the angel prevented him from taking the plates, but instructed him to return to the same location in a year. He returned to that site every year, but it wasn't until September 1827 on his fourth annual attempt to retrieve them. He returned home with a heavy object wrapped in a frock, which he then put in a box. He allowed others to lift the box and to feel the weight of the box, but nobody could look in it. Yeah. So inside this box were these gold plates, and they were in a book.
So we're told, or so we've seen?
Told.
Somebody has seen.
But you had to wear your spectacles.
But here's the deal. Now, there were people in that day that claimed to have seen them. His wife claims to have seen them.
It was 11
Yes, you
witnesses,
better.
right?
One of them. All
exactly
40
right.
of them.
Oh, I think it was 11 witnesses.
He's like, I got 40 women that'll testify.
Yeah, exactly. So later on, he will validate this by, commissioning the testimonies of 11 of his elders, or
Gotcha.
Whatever you want to call them. They all corroborated his story, and this is, to the people in LDS, if we blaspheme this, we're wrong.
We're doomed.
This is true. This is absolutely true.
Yeah.
Okay, so according to now, Richard Bushman is a Mormon historian, so he's a believer.
Yeah.
But he says that Smith did not consider himself to be a peeper or a glass looker, despite his use of seer stones. Rather, Smith and his family viewed their folk magical practices as spiritual gifts. So there you go.
Well, I believe it if he thinks he's being visited by the apostles and everything else.
Well,
Why
and
not?
then he just sort of adapted that to say that he was not a magician, he was a seer.
Yeah.
Like a foreteller.
Sounds
that
a little
kind
bit
of
like
thing.
Simon the Sorcerer.
Yeah. So he found the plates, and this story just, takes twists and turns and everything. One time he brings them home and he takes them out of the box and he lays them on the floor. He wasn't supposed to put them on the ground.
No.
So they magically jumped back in the box, and the box went back up the hill.
Dang.
So he had to go up the hill.
carry it back
Start
down.
over.
Yeah.
Start over.
Gummit. Did it
Yeah.
blow through his window?
It probably did. So then he said that the angel instructed him to return in 1824 with the right person, his older brother Alvin, who had died in 1823.
Oh.
But so was he was not dead yet when the
No,
angel
he
told
was.
him this?
He absolutely was.
Oh, this really took a turn.
Yeah, it did. He tells these stories about all these people trying to steal the plates from him. Once it got out, kind of word got around a little bit, and he was attacked.
But wait, how did he get back with his dead brother? Was this like a weekend at Bernie's
It's
thing? They dig
Silverstone.
the guy up?
No, here's the deal: is now, I don't know if the angel was really trying to tell him to return with the spirit of his dead brother, but he
I'm
determined
thinking
that
he's got like a skeleton in the backpack. Or in his hat.
Prop this guy, save that body. We're gonna need him later on.
In his
Oh my God.
stovetop
For the
hat.
rest of this episode, I'm going to picture Weekend
Yeah.
at Bernie's.
Exactly. He's got those glasses on.
Yes. He's got him shoved into a stovetop hat.
So yeah, so he's he actually decided that his wife Emma was the right person.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll just read one of these to you. It says, once home in Manchester, he said he walked to Cumorah, removed the plates from their hiding place, and walked home through the woods and away from the road with the plates wrapped in a linen frock under his arm. On the way, he said a man had sprung up from behind a log and struck him a heavy blow with a gun. Knocking the man down with a single punch, Joseph ran as fast as he could for about a half a mile before he was attacked by a second man trying to get the plates. After overpowering the man, Joseph continued to run, but before he reached the house, a third man hit him with a gun. They like
It's a good thing they only hit him with a gun.
I know. Why don't he just?
That's convenient. They don't shoot him.
I know.
They weren't smart enough to use it properly.
Yeah.
In striking the last man, Joseph said he injured his thumb.
Oh,
He
man.
returned home with a dislocated thumb and other minor injuries. He sent his father and his friend to search for the pursuers, but they found no one.
Dang. He's a KO hitter, man.
That's going to be a recurring theme. We're going to send them to corroborate, and there's nothing there.
Not a lot
Yeah.
of evidence.
Yeah.
to
It's a
corroborate.
miracle.
Yeah.
So once he finally got the plates to a safe place inside of his house, then he began to translate them. Now he says that that through the use of this seer stone, that when he looks at the plates, which were written in ancient Reformed Egyptian language.
Oh, how many
Gotta
people?
love that.
How many people read that?
Well,
Just Joseph.
there is no such language, nor has there ever been a Reformed Egyptian language. That's like, I mean,
I'd say, what would that even be?
was there a renegade Egyptian language that they had to corral and reform? I don't know. But here's where it gets really on. Okay, so he said that that in the box with the plates is this kind of pair of glasses, large spectacles. He called them the Urim and the Thummim.
Okay.
Now that is actually a biblical term. You know, that's the priests and the kings use that to inquire of the Lord about things.
Yes.
So he's like already borrowing things
Yeah.
from, and of course his Bible is the King James only. version.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, that's the only
And
accurate.
so when he translates, he's translating in that Old English kind of style. So apparently Reformed Egyptian language translates perfectly into Old English language.
Well, it would. You know?
Well, yeah,
I
you
mean,
would
yeah,
think
it
so.
would.
Anyway,
Did
so
people see the spectacles?
no, only he saw the spectacles.
The amount of secrecy in this
I
is
know.
is a lot.
Well, this is very, very important stuff because apparently, well, we'll find this out later, but he has been commissioned by God the Father and Jesus Christ the Son and the apostles to reform to basically start a true church that would reform Christ's church and thereby bring about the second coming of Christ.
I gotcha.
So
okay.
there's a lot riding on this.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
There's a lot of pressure from one young man.
I'm sure
to
he
bear.
was very overwhelmed.
So this is the wild part of it, though, and this is where
This
it
is
gets
the wild part.
of the golden plates. He would sit at a small desk. He would have a scribe there, and he went through a lot of scribes. At first, it was sometimes it was his wife. Sometimes it was a school teacher friend of theirs. There were various. And eventually, he would kind of either make them mad or run them off somehow, and they'd have to go get another one.
Yeah.
But he would sit at this desk with his special glasses, and there was a curtain because the other person was not allowed to see the
that's what I was going to say.
plates.
They couldn't see us.
That's right.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
And,
course.
and it says that when he would put the spectacles on with these seer stones in the frames, that when he looked at the golden tablet, he could read it in English. And so he would dictate this to the scribe. Now, I don't know exactly why he didn't just take a pen
And do it himself.
yeah. That he would dictate it.
He's lazy.
But as he got into this, he discovered that he didn't even have to be looking at the golden plates.
So he could just do it.
He
The
just-
word just came to him.
He just put the golden plates back in his spot under the floorboards of his room, and he would just sit at this desk and he would translate these tablets.
So he didn't
But
need
he's-
the source material to translate it.
Well, I mean,
He was the source.
it was given to him.
Yeah, God is the source giving it to him.
Then why do you need the golden plates?
These are divine golden plates. I have no idea.
That was to reveal his powers.
but he described this book in great detail that it had gold rings to hold the plates together, and they were in a D shape, so you could
D ring.
yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
It was very elaborate. Anyway, so he in 90 days.
Wait, so this guy found a golden trapper keeper in the
Yep.
late 1800s or mid 1800s.
That's it. Early 1800s.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what happened. And then he put on his magic chocolate covered eggstone glasses,
Yes. Yeah.
And stuck his head in a hat.
and
Then
he
read
would-
the golden trapper keeper that he didn't
used
need.
the hat. And so he would sit at his desk for hours a day, like this with his hat. And
You
his,
think he
and
ended
his
up
goggles.
with a ring?
You know what I'm thinking about?
What?
What was it? Didn't they used to treat hats with formaldehyde?
Oh my gosh!
Because that's what created the Mad Hatter.
I didn't know that.
The
I
chemicals?
didn't know that either.
Well, I
The
thought
Mad
so.
Hatters, the chemicals they used in his hat is what made him go
Well,
mad.
if he's got his face buried in there for a while, he's at
what I'm
least got a
saying.
little bit of
He's
carbon
inhaling it.
dioxide
Yeah,
poisoning.
this is what he looked like.
That
most of the time.
looks awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm trying, as you've been reading, I'm like, how can I try to play the devil's advocate here? And I'm really having a hard time.
Well, I mean, this is ironclad, man. How do you?
Stop it! Stop it!
But here's an interesting thing. In In May of 1829, Smith had written 116 unduplicated manuscript pages, and he gave them to his scribe, Martin Harris, and Harris lost them.
Oh, man.
I bet you that guy got he hurt his thumb again, didn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, he said, it says Smith dictated a revelation explaining that Smith could not simply retranslate the lost pages because his opponents would attempt to see if he could bring forth the same words again. In other words, he thought it was a test.
Yeah, somebody might have them and be like, oh, well, why do they not match?
He said, no, I might have to say it word for word again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he said that Smith believed a second transcription would be identical to the first. And so nobody knows if it was or not. So, but here's the weird thing about this translation, because he came up with like 583 pages or something like that.
Yeah.
And this became the Book of Mormon. Like right then and there in 90 days, he had the Book of Mormon. And when you read the Book of Mormon, I have not, but it is well organized, it's well thought out, it is articulate, it generously weaves in sort of, King James language and some biblical concepts. And it's, he wasn't a highly educated person. And so that, you can kind of put this all together and you go, well, maybe it was divinely downloaded into, maybe there's something to that, the egg rock glasses. What do you think, Pat? How are we doing so far?
Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
so I'm just gonna be honest with you guys. I'm picturing Forrest Gump right now, and he's learning to shrimp. Right? He's just out there like Diane. You ain't got no legs.
Yeah.
You ain't got no sayers, Harris.
Yeah, and so when they moved to Pennsylvania in 1827, they transported the wooden box and they hid them in a barrel of beans. That's just a little side note there.
They left them there?
They took them with them in a barrel of beans.
Yeah.
Oh, they carry them around.
No one eats beans.
So after this is the cool part. This is like this is how you know that this is real, because after the translation was complete, Smith just returned the plates to the angel. Just gave them back. And he did not elaborate about this experience.
That was nice of him to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, so even though they could just shoot themselves back up the hill by themselves, he didn't need them in the first place to translate them. So he took them back, even though he didn't need them, and they've never been recovered since.
Yeah. One of his cohorts, David Whitmer, says that he placed the plates on a table in a cave on the hill in Cumorah, near many wagon loads of other ancient records and the sword of Laban hanging on the cave wall.
But did they know where this cave is?
New York.
It's supposed to be on the mountain or on the hill where he got them. Supposed to be in the cave.
Yeah.
They've sent people to see about the cave, but they could not find it. Yeah.
But they're like, but it's full of artifacts.
It's like Batman's Batcave, man.
Wagon loads.
Yeah.
Wagon loads.
No one knows where it's at.
So here's a kind of an artistic representation of the golden plates.
There's the sword.
The Urim and the Thummim and the sword of Laban.
There's the spectacles.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Now, here's the interesting part, too. He taught that part of the golden plates were sealed. The sealed portion is said to contain a revelation from God from the beginning of the world to the ending thereof. And so many Latter-day Saints believe the plates will be kept hidden until a future time when the sealed part will be translated and, according to one early Mormon leader, transferred from the hill to one of the Mormon temples.
So as long as they don't get that book back, we're good.
Just keep on modifying.
Keep on rolling. Yeah.
New revelation.
So, it goes into a description of the plates, and it talks about the 11 witnesses, and Smith took 3 of his cohorts into the woods where they saw an angel holding the gold plates and turning the leaves. They heard the voice of the Lord telling them that the translation of the plates was correct and commanding them to testify of what they saw and heard. It just kind of escalates from there. And so there you go.
I know, no lie. Like I'm thinking two things. Either one, there is some sort of, if these people correct, like he's got the witnesses, I'm like, all right, is there, like I joked about the mushroom, but part of me is like, is there some sort of drug thing going on here? Or the other part of me, and I'm trying to be like, all right, let's say this dude legitimately believes he saw this and these other people legitimately believe that they saw it too. Is it drug induced? Is it maybe demonic?
I think it's all on the table.
Yeah. Because it's a known fact. I mean, cults exist because people can be swayed and led into other directions. I mean, a whole group of people drank like poison and died. They drank the Kool-Aid. So it's like people can be convinced, but I feel like if you got them to come back and say, well, I physically saw this thing, then do they not have to physically see the thing?
I don't know, because you can convince yourself of a lot of things.
Yeah.
And this guy, we'll find out as we go along, because this thing grows almost immediately. And, once again, all of the conditions are right. It's burned over ground. People are taking this revival thing, to a very sensational level. And there's manifestations, and there's treasure gathering, and there's, all of these little folk magic kind of things. And they're all getting mixed up together. So here's this guy. He's obviously a really good storyteller.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, this isn't really that far-fetched. I mean, it is for us sitting here, but I mean, we see it even within our faith alone, just in mainstream Christianity, how many wrong people are behind a pulpit.
Okay.
Today.
Okay, let me give you an example. Do y'all remember the prayer of Jabez?
I want to say I've heard it.
Okay. There's this guy, Bruce Wilkinson. He discovered in Scripture, and it's there. You can read it. But he discovered this guy named Jabez who prayed this particular prayer. And the prayer was to enlarge my territory.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
There's a song. You can go on YouTube and listen to the song called The Prayer of Jabez.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's nothing wrong with the story. It's not, it's in the Bible. You pull it out of the Bible, everything's okay. But I mean, this took off like it was a movement.
Yeah.
Because it went along with the prosperity teaching and all this kind of stuff.
Yep.
All you got to do is pray, Lord, enlarge my territory. And there were Bible study series. There was a DVD series. There was, people doing prayers of Jabez, like months in their churches. And everybody was in, then there was like all of these sort of branches of, so, do you really want God to enlarge your territory? Because it'll come with a lot of responsibility and all this stuff, and I mean, it went like crazy. And there were whole movements that followed this prayer of Jabez teaching. Yeah. And it's one sentence in the whole Bible that may not even mean what it's supposed to mean.
Yeah. I mean, the book of Jonah is about a fish.
That's it. That's right. That's exactly right.
That one sentence out of all 4 chapters.
And so in these kinds of conditions where, it's like there's no electricity, so when you turn off the blow out the candles, it's dark. I mean, it's dark. And you're up in upstate New York somewhere in the foothills of the mountains, and you got you're not all that far from Appalachian, things like that. I mean,
that'd be in the Catskills, right?
I mean, if you could get some followers.
Yeah, for sure.
You tell this story about the angel Moroni and all that stuff.
Moron and
and you talking about the the golden plates and all that stuff, man. I mean, it's like, if you tell the story that 3 men accosted me on the way home and you've dislocated your thumb and you got you've been beat up, I mean, those golden plates must really be something.
Yeah, they will. Hey, I mean, storytelling's a power.
This guy was good at it.
Yeah.
And
apparently.
And it's so he started his first church in 1830.
Wonder how old he'd be at this point.
Well, let's see.
He was in his 20s. In the 20s.
He would be
in his 30s, early 30s.
Would he be in his 30s?
He'd be probably like 26 to 28.
Gotcha.
I think he was born in 1804. I think that's right. It was called the Church of Christ. Like, how many churches do we know that it started out being called the Church of Christ? That's there you go.
I'm gonna start calling all them Mormons.
He was born in 1805.
There you go. 1805. Right, so he'd been 25 years old. All right. And so people started coming to their church, and he started teaching and getting revelations. And by this time he claimed he started to really begin to act like a prophet.
Yeah.
He claimed to get revelations from Jesus on a regular basis, that he was plugged into the system.
Okay.
And so he began talking about this thing called Zion. And he really felt like God had commissioned him as a prophet to gather a people and lead them out to a place. And it was supposed to be right up against Native American lands. So at this time, the ethnic cleansing had begun in the U.S. And so in the eastern part, there was no real organization of Native Americans. And so we knew that they were out west. So he begins to gather his followers and travel. Now, part of the reason is because he's making a lot of people upset here. They're pretty radical. And they part of their whole idea was they would move into a place, they would buy up as much land as they possibly could because they're going to start this Zion complex, this utopian, and so anyway, they got out of New York and they go west and they end up in Ohio. He tells them that this is just a temporary spot, but they're going to stay there for a while. Well, I'm not going to go into all the details about Ohio, but things did not go well for them in Ohio. So he's going like, I know, it's Missouri. And so he starts this whole series of revelations about Missouri because it's right up against the Native American land, right? So this must be it. He tells everybody that the Garden of Eden is actually in Missouri.
Oh, man. That's exactly what I had thought.
I mean, outside Branson.
I was reading Genesis the other day.
You're like, that's got a Missouri.
That's the Hebrew word for Missouri.
Yes, that's got quite a Missouri ring.
Oh, that was misery. No, this is
Moroni and Missouri. It's close.
Yeah. Now, things went crazy in Missouri, and I got to.
Oh, wait a minute. That's where was that? No, never mind. It wasn't.
Yeah, that's where John Wayne was like, "You got to get the hell out of here."
Well, there was in 1838. It says they finally made it out to Missouri, and they had been there a while. It says between 1831 and 1833, Mormons established several settlements in Jackson County, Missouri, near Independence. The people in that county did not like them. They were violently evicted from Jackson County, so they resettled in neighboring counties. And they couldn't get their land back in Jackson County, so the Missouri legislature organized the Caldwell Compromise. Okay. So things were still tense because the people that were settling out there, I mean, they're free thinkers, right? And so here comes this religious group buying up all the land, homesteading all the land they could get. And they've got these wild religious principles, and they're going to set up this commune kind of thing. And you can imagine we would feel, and so you can imagine how they felt even more intensely. So the Mormons were blocked from voting, and so they fought back, and there was a big to do, so they actually sent in the militia. Because there was these vigilante groups that were coming against the Mormons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the militia came in to disperse the vigilantes and settle the peace. This resulted in the 1838 Mormon War.
The Mormon
War. Yeah. We
How long did that last?
We have a T-shirt. Remember Lot's wife. Remember the Mormon War.
Remember the Mormon War.
That's exactly.
Gordon Lightfoot wrote a song about that, I think.
Yeah. It goes through the whole to
legal
do
matter.
But it was really quite a thing.
As they were moving,
yeah,
were some staying and setting up like Mormon stuff in the areas, or were they actually like getting out of Dodge?
I think that by the time this escalated into what it was, and it says there were like 17 Mormons killed in these skirmishes. I think if you had Mormon attached to your identity,
you were in trouble.
You just needed to leave.
Gotcha.
But it was here in Missouri that at first when they were encountering opposition, Joseph Smith said, "Do not fight back." Well, now he says, "Fight back,
slaughter them."
Yeah. So he gets a revelation that Missouri was not the place.
Yeah.
It just wasn't the place at all. They tried some other places in Missouri, that did not work out for them. So they ended up in Illinois.
Man, they went quite a lot of traveling there.
Yeah. They were still staying kind of in the Midwest area because that was, near the Native American land, all this kind of stuff. And this is in Illinois. It's Nauvoo, Illinois. They actually were successful there. They set up this huge complex, and this is where Joseph Smith began to sketch out his Zion. Mm-hmm. And I saw some documents of this, and there was like all of this, like an architect, large paper, and he had all of these grid streets, and they all had names like Bethlehem Street and Moses Avenue and stuff like that.
That's catchy. It's creative.
And it had the temple in the very center, and then all of these blocks with. He specified how large the houses should be, that the blocks would be 1 mile square. How many, the houses were to be 25 feet from the road or the street so that you could plant a garden around, all this stuff. He had it laid out. He had it where
community.
Yeah. Parks were and where the school was going to be and just all this stuff. Very, very elaborate. And it really began to materialize in Nauvoo.
Okay.
And in fact, they started taking over the place so much that they were taking over the local government, and then they were taking over the state government. And it was at this point that Joseph Smith decided to run for president.
Oh, he gonna get killed.
That was his big boo-boo there.
He's going to run for president. Well, what happened was, here's what set this whole thing off.
He got too big for his britches.
Well, the Nauvoo Expositor was a newly established newspaper published by anti-polygamist ex-Mormons who had recently been excommunicated.
Oh.
With or without their wives.
Well, so they began to expose this polygamy thing.
Yeah.
This is where the polygamy started, right here in Nauvoo.
So it was not a big thing yet.
It was
or like
here
a known thing, I guess.
Well,
he introduced it there, right?
Well, yeah, it was. He got a revelation. He didn't introduce it. Jesus did.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Jesus said, go ahead and get Mary and Sally.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny too because it says that an angel appeared to him and told him to take on other wives, and so he immediately does so.
Of course.
And guess what?
What?
His first extra wife is a teenage girl.
Who'd have thought?
That's convenient for him, keep them young.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But man, wouldn't that be annoying?
For the teenage girl.
For the girl?
For you. Oh my God. Like, what's going on there?
No, they didn't talk like that in Mormon days back there in Nauvoo.
They probably didn't get to talk. Did they
No,
get to
probably
talk?
not. No. Mm-mm. And so then over the next several years, by the time he ran for president, he had taken over 40 wives.
Wow.
Here's the weird thing, though, is the majority of those wives were already married to other husbands.
Huh.
So did they have to leave their husbands? So he just took them from the other.
So this is why people said, hey, wait.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. And so now this
Somehow,
newspaper,
this always works its way in, doesn't it?
all these cults, every cult is about getting naked.
It is.
Some way, shape, or form.
Naked.
I mean,
Neked.
Naked.
Naked. Yeah.
Yep.
Come on over here, you followers. Let's get naked.
Let's get naked. Yep.
So
Jesus said do it.
So this Expositor newspaper was, they were blasting this whole thing.
Yeah, he probably lost his wife. His wife's probably one of them.
Probably did.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be. Yeah. Joseph Smith burned down the newspaper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he just got rid of it.
No turning of the other cheek no more.
And so they were okay, listen to this. This is fascinating. Okay. So they were charged by the state of Illinois with inciting a riot. So it's kind of like, like Al Capone and those guys, they have to wait around till they can find something to charge them with.
Yeah, tax evasion.
Finally, inciting a riot. So he was apprehended, then set free, and then he was in charge. He was like the mayor or the governor or something, and so he declared martial law and called out the Nauvoo Legion. Now, by this time, this complex had more people in it than the city of Chicago.
Jeez.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had their own army.
And they were pretty much all Mormon.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Okay. So So he was detained again, and he received a personal statement from Governor Ford, who pledged his faith and the faith of the state of Illinois to protect him while he underwent a legal and fair trial. So they returned voluntarily, and when they surrendered to authorities, they were charged with treason.
Ooh, that's not a good one.
For declaring martial law.
Yeah, they did that to Billy the Kid. It's
How
like,
about
yeah,
that?
if you just
Yeah.
turn yourself in, we'll give you
So
alimony.
they
or,
were- they-
was it amnesty? That's it.
Yeah, that's right.
Not
Yeah.
alimony.
Yeah.
Yeah, give him alimony.
Yeah. Maybe that's what these husbands got.
Might get some child support.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You got 40 wives.
Okay.
That's a pretty big check.
So they were detained at the Carthage jail awaiting trial. So
Yeah.
they didn't. None of these conditions were met.
Yeah.
Right. So
And treason is a big deal.
yeah, it is a
Yeah,
big deal.
It's
Yes.
punishable by
So
death.
it's beyond inciting a riot, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so an armed mob of 200 men stormed the building, their faces painted black with wet gunpowder.
First blackface?
I ain't putting gunpowder on my face.
Especially if you're going to be in a gunfight.
Yeah, you get your head
So-
blow up.
Joseph Smith was on the second floor of this jail. They immediately came in, and there was another guy named Smith. His name was Hiram Smith, and he was shot in the face.
Oh.
And as he fell, he shouted, "I am a dead man."
You're,
After getting shot in the face?
Yep.
after his
Somehow.
head exploded.
Yeah, exactly. So
Hold on, that's his famous. He's famous for that quote.
yeah,
I am a
I am a dead man.
See, there's remember the movie The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance?
Yeah.
When the myth becomes legend, print the myth.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. You get shot in the
Yes.
face, you're gonna say,
Yes.
So what happened was he tried to escape from the second story window.
okay.
He was shot on the way down, and he was shot when he got to the ground.
So the people attacking weren't there to rescue him.
No.
This was shooting clay pigeons.
Dang, they good. They smoked him falling down. They didn't let the poor guy hit the ground
Nope,
first.
they did not. 5 men were indicted for the killings, but were acquitted at a jury trial.
They were going to kill him anyways. Treason back then, they'd kill you. I'm sure. They were
if
probably
he-
going to hang
well,
him.
if he was convicted, but the governor promised a fair trial, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They weren't having that.
At the time of his death, Smith was running for president of the United States, making him the first U.S. presidential candidate to be assassinated.
Okay.
Oh. I'm still just tripping out the dude going down in history for saying, I am a dead man.
I know. I know.
Shot.
Okay, so now we're gonna move along a little faster now.
Okay.
Yeah, because we got a lot to cover still.
Yeah, we got a lot to cover, and
Well, after this is Brigham Young, right?
yeah, that's what happens. Is he had 12 apostles, and 2 of them were senior apostles, and so they voted among themselves as to who would be the next leader,
Yeah.
and that was Brigham Young, and Brigham Young got a revelation
What?
that we're not supposed to stay in Illinois.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
Brigham
is
Young
not
said one day
yeah.
our university will be in the college.
What
Park.
a
That's exactly
what a Mormon name.
Oh yeah,
Young.
Brigham
absolutely.
Young.
Maybe he's Steve Young's
Yeah.
ancestor.
The other guy's name had to be like Carl Jackson, and they're
Yeah.
like Carl or Brigham. Yeah, we're gonna go with
Yeah,
Brigham.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Stu. Yeah, he was Stu.
Yeah.
Okay, so they headed to Mexico. Now, if you know Mexico was a lot larger than it was when we finally,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
know,
Took it
conquered
over?
Mexico. Yeah. So it was the Salt Lake Valley,
Okay.
and it actually had a county, Salt Lake County, in what we now know as Utah.
Yeah.
That was the new promised land, and this is where they decided to set up all of their Zion. That was what happened. And if you just side note, if you were to look at the layout of most of the major cities in Utah, they are all in accordance with Joseph Smith's Zion plan.
All right. I've been to Utah. Now that intrigues me.
So that's how they ended up where they are. Now there's
What part of Utah were they in? Salt Lake City?
yeah, that whole valley, Salt Lake Valley.
Ugh, I hate that place.
It's weird, man. It's but nobody's gonna bother him there.
no, I mean and it's desolate. It's
Nothing
awful.
there.
Yeah,
Salt
no-
Lake City's terrible.
Nothing there but Mormons.
Yeah, and salt,
No newspapers.
and they're all
Yeah,
salty.
they're okay. Yes. So that is this is the amazing thing about this is they end up in Utah, and of course the whole country explodes, develops, all this stuff. They maintain their Zion there, and their headquarters are there now. I mean, they're like we read, 15 governors, and
Yes.
Mormons, and I mean, from there it literally is a global network. These missionaries, these young people, this is genius because they send them out to proselytize, to evangelize Mormonism.
Yeah.
That's what they do every single day for 2 years. So they got how many thousands of young missionaries around the world?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Got them in Asia. They got them in Eastern Europe. They got, all this stuff. Okay.
Did they clash with Indians when they got to Utah?
No, not really. There were some skirmishes. I know you got a little story about something that happened.
That's why I asked. Yeah. So when did they move to Utah? Because this takes place in 1857.
Yeah, this would have been in the late 1840s.
Yeah, 47 is what it says.
47. That's
This is called the Mountain Meadows Massacre. And on September 11th, 1857, a group of Mormon militiamen, it was and Indians, and Paiute Indians attacked and killed 120 unarmed men, women, and children who were part of the Fancher Party.
Oh, wow.
A wagon train headed to California.
Yeah.
Says the reasons behind the massacre are complex. One was tensions between Mormons and outsiders.
Oh, there you go.
And then two, the fear of persecution. They had faced persecution and violence in the past, so they were we're going to get the jump on you.
We're going to get out ahead of it.
Yeah. Then economic, cultural differences. So, it says here the Mormon militia men led by John D. Lee attacked the party under the guise of protecting the local community. They dressed as Indians, surrounded the wagon train, and began firing. The party's members, mostly women and children, were then killed or taken captive. The aftermath was covered up by the Mormon community, and it wasn't until, 20 years later, 1874, that John D. Lee was executed for his role in the massacre.
Wow.
It remains a dark chapter in Mormon history and has been the subject of much controversy. It actually, in 2007, they officially acknowledged the massacre and issued a statement condemning the violence. It took a long time.
Yeah, apparently there were several of these.
Well, the wheels of justice turn very slowly in their day.
It's very true.
We had to get Cleavon Little out there as a sheriff to go track them down.
Yeah.
Right?
It says from 1849 to 1873, they had the Wakara War, the Bear River Massacre, and the Black Hawk War. And the Mountain Meadows Massacre.
Yeah, they weren't to be trifled with.
Yeah. It's wild.
So let's talk just for a couple minutes about their holy books.
Okay.
Yeah, because I want to know, like I said, man, the Mormons that I know would say that they're a Christian.
Yes.
So what do they believe?
Well, we're going to look at their holy books, and then I'm going to give you an absolute drive-through about the whole foundation of their belief. I'm going to skip over some things, but I'm going to give you all the nuggets.
Gotcha.
Okay. And so you can tell me if they're Christians or not by the time we're done.
I've got a feeling I might know.
Okay. So the King James Bible is important to them.
Okay.
So they consider that. Well, here, the thing is, the King James Bible, you have to be careful with because there's probably some errors in it. Mm-hmm. Because of the way it was translated and, all these kinds of things. So, you have to, warning when you read the King James Bible. A much more reliable book is the Book of Mormon, which they call another testament of Jesus Christ. Another testament of Jesus Christ. Now, some of this stuff is going to sound a little bit familiar to us from some of the cults, not cults that we have touched on before, such as the Hebrew Israelites and the Hebrew Nationals, things like that. Okay, so in the Book of Mormon, you have these different books. Okay, so there's Nephi and there's Omni. It talks about this people called the Lamanites. Nephites and Lamanites. Okay, so the Lamanites are the Native Americans, but they are actually Israelites that traveled to the Americas.
Okay.
So basically it's a history of ancient American peoples to whom God called prophets. And so we've got, you go way back in Jewish history, Prophet Adam, the prophet Abraham, prophet Moses. Mm-hmm. Okay, so then Jesus comes along and he is the sixth prophet sent to these people.
Okay.
Now I'm just going to get ahead of myself just for a moment. They believe in the death and the resurrection of Jesus. They believe that it is by confessing belief in Jesus that you are saved. So that's why they
that's why they say that they're Christian.
Yeah, because death and resurrection of Jesus is central to our faith. That's why we have the name Jesus in our denomination or in our religion, right? Yeah. Okay, so the Book of Mormon. Okay, I'm just going to read just a little bit here. The book describes, it tells the story of a man named Lehi, his family, and several others as they are led by God from Jerusalem shortly after the fall of that city to the Babylonians. So some went to Babylon, others went here. They journeyed across the Arabian Peninsula, then to a promised land, unspecified location in the Americas by ship. From 600 BC to 130 BC, during which time the community grows and splits into two main groups called the Nephites and the Lamanites that frequently war with each other throughout the rest of the narrative. The book of Nephi comes from the large plates of Nephi and, all this stuff again. So I'm not going to go into all of this stuff, but basically the Book of Mormon is about the ancient Israelites who came and formed the Native American people.
Okay.
So that's,
gotcha.
And so in there is, wisdom about how you're supposed to get along, how you're supposed to live, So if you go to the BYU channel and watch two of the Mormon pastors, preachers having a Bible study, you're going to hear about the
Lamanites
and the Lamanites and the Nephites and how God is instructing them to live together and all this stuff.
There's a BYU channel?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've watched it. Okay, so there's the Book of Mormon. There's the King James Bible. There is something called the Doctrines and the Covenants. And these are all new revelations. These are revelations and teachings received by Joseph Smith and others, including Brigham Young, all this stuff along the way as they develop. Good. Well, and here's the other thing. They are the only sort of, I guess you might call them Protestant religion, where they believe that their president, their chief, is a prophet. So it's kind of like the Pope.
But they hate the Catholic Church.
They do. No.
Why do they hate the Catholic Church?
Because it's corrupt. It's been corrupted by politics and it's lust for power.
But it's debatable.
But when the president speaks, it's directly from God. Just like when the Pope,
Yeah.
It's the same thing. So if whoever's in charge gets a new revelation, that's the revelation. Because in 1978 they actually got a new revelation that black people were okay.
Well, see, that's what the
78.
The podcast. That's what the podcast I was listening to. This dude was in it in the 70s, and that's what he said that they were very racist. He said it was a very racist cult, is what he called it. And that's what he was when he was like, and they despise the Catholic Church.
Yeah, and a very, very misogynistic, patriarchal. Men are everything.
Yeah. I mean, that's understandable that it would take Jesus till 1978 to be okay with black people.
Oh, well, I mean, well, they had to get Jesus involved, and then they had to get God the Father and his wife, and then they had to get Moroni involved.
Jesus was a Caucasian man.
I guess soul music had just hit the soul train had just hit the televisions in heaven. So Jesus was like, they're all right.
Then they have the Pearl of Great Price. That's their other holy book.
Explain this to me.
Okay. This is the Pearl of Great Price is additional writings of Revelations. Okay. The name of the book is derived from the parable of the pearl told by Jesus in Matthew. Okay. So it has 5 books. There is the Book of Moses, which begins with the visions of Moses. So this is all,
but this is from who wrote it?
Joseph Smith.
And so he was told he was given these visions of Moses.
Basically, the Book of Moses is a revision of the first 6 chapters of the Book of Genesis.
Okay.
It's and then interrupted by 2 chapters of extracts from the prophecy of Enoch. They're big Enoch people. Enoch was a prophet. Okay, so then there's the Book of Abraham. But he said it was based on Egyptian papyri purchased from a traveling mummy exhibition. And of course, he could translate it himself, purported to be the writings of Abraham while he was in Egypt. Then there is Joseph Smith's version of Matthew.
Okay.
It's his retranslation of portions of the Gospel of Matthew. And so I'm not exactly sure all of the ways that he retranslates. I'd probably have to read it, which I don't want to do. Then there is Joseph Smith History in there, which is autobiographical record of some of the early events in his life, dictated to a scribe. And then finally is the Articles of Faith, 13 Fundamental Doctrines of Mormonism, which I don't have and I don't want to go through right now because it'll take us forever. But it doesn't involve a mating sign.
Oh, there's no mating sign?
Does not involve a mating sign.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. So those are the books. Now, we got just enough time for me. Now, an angel appeared to me.
Gave you this revelation.
Logan, take your hat off.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. So I'm going to give you just a flyby thumbnail sketch of the basic. I mean, this is every Mormon would believe this.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so God is an actual man with a body of flesh. This comes right out of the Book of Mormon. Okay. He has a wife, and he lives near a star far away named Kolob. We on earth are spiritual beings called, we're little eternal balls of light. That's what we are. We're spiritual beings, eternal balls of light called intelligences.
That's nice.
We have heavenly parents. Our heavenly parents have birthed us into spiritual children, and then they sent us down onto this earth to get a physical body, to get married, to create an earthly family, and then to learn and grow so that someday we can return to live with God with our families. Okay, so they call this whole process sealing.
Okay.
Marriage is sealing. When you have children, that they are sealed to you. Gotcha. And your extended family is sealed to you. So you are sealed for your eternal existence in the heavens. Okay, so when we go through that process, then we can become like God with our spouses, and we get to create our own spiritual families in some other part of the universe. Mm-hmm. And they will get upset with you if you say, well, you guys get to get your own planet. No, that's not. It's not. It's in another unspecified part of the universe.
Like by themselves?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'll be 1 mile by 1 mile with a garden around the house.
But I guess we think about our families. It's like, dang, it'd be just like 4 of us in one spot. But I mean, if you take into account that they've married quite a few.
And all of your extended family, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, nieces, cousins.
I got you. Gotcha.
You basically create your own Zion somewhere in the universe, and you are godlike.
Yeah.
In existence.
I got a problem with the math on that because, like, my cousins have marriages and they have marriages.
That's one thing. Where does it stop?
You're all just going to go to.
Where does it end?
I don't know. You ask hard questions.
The chocolate, they weren't focused in.
I need the
enough.
spectacles.
Okay,
to understand.
So there are 3 levels of heaven. Okay. So in order to get to the third heaven, the ultimate eternal heaven, you have to, in order to become like God and be able to start our own communities somewhere in the universe, we have to pass some tests here on earth.
Okay.
We have to complete certain rituals and demonstrate our obedience to Him.
I'm not a good test taker.
Well, this guy that I was reading and watching says when he came out of the Mormon church, it was one of the things he had to get deprogrammed is this obedience thing. Yeah. Everything is obedience. And if you mess up, you got to go right back to obeying. And it's very, very, very works based. Okay. So in order to create the framework and the structure to make all this happen, so all of the eternal light balls will be able to get a human body and pass the test to get to, you need to set up a church, and the church has to have proper authority. And then eventually there would need to be a savior that would come down to account for all of our sins so that we can be pure enough to enter the level of heaven that coincides with our level of obedience.
But they believe Jesus already died, though.
Yeah, this is their theology from the past.
Okay. Sorry, you go ahead. Go ahead.
So Jesus is like the head light bulb?
We're going to find out where Jesus fits into this mix because this is their plan of salvation. Okay.
Gotcha.
So Jesus appeared. Okay. No, I'm getting ahead.
Yeah. The light balls. And then...
Yeah. We got that. So Jesus set up his church. Okay. Proper authority. There need to be a savior that would come down to account for all of our sins so we could all pass these tests.
Okay.
And by the way, to get into heaven, whatever, there's a little holding tank prison. You go there first and then you get assigned to your proper level of heaven.
Oh, man.
It's like, oh man, I draw a 1.
Yeah. Dang it. A 1.
What'd you get? I got a 3.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Meet me at the second floor.
okay. So luckily, and this is the word he used, luckily, one of our spiritual brothers, Jehovah, later called Jesus, volunteered to be this savior.
The Savior.
He volunteered.
So our spiritual brother are equal.
Exactly.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, have fun in hell.
Because Jesus was birthed out of God the Father and his wife. By the way, so was Satan.
Wait.
So they're brothers.
Yep.
Wait. How did I not know this?
So he was not immaculately conceived.
No, he was created.
Yeah.
Well, he was because it was God the Father and his wife. Yeah, it kind of hurts your brain a little bit.
That's wild to think. Yeah, okay.
And he volunteered. He said, "I'm going to go. I'll go.
Yeah.
I'll go." So in the mix, now this is the place that we're kind of this fast forward to now. The people are rebellious. Well, this is Bible times, really. So God calls the prophets. He calls Adam and Enoch and Abraham and Moses, and all of them do very well up to a point. But they're humans, They're divinely inspired, but they're humans. And so we have to keep recycling prophets and recycling prophets and recycling prophets until Jesus comes along. He's the 6th prophet. So he's the volunteer. He's the 6th prophet. And I don't know why they chose the number 6, because 666 in the Bible is not a good number.
I was going to say, if they were smart, they'd have said 7.
So
know,
they're
they
very
would've-
squarely penal substitutionary atonement.
Oh, there is no other way.
That has to be.
Because he establishes his church. He brings about prophets and apostles. He gives them authority by laying his hands on their head, and the apostles are in on the deal. And then he suffers for our sins. He dies on the cross, and he raises again from the dead. That's how the church starts.
Mm-hmm.
They believe in the Holy Ghost, but we're not really sure exactly where the Holy Ghost fits into
it.
And they call it the Holy Ghost. It's never the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
So after Jesus' resurrection and establishing the church, is that where his story ends?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
So he doesn't come back to the...
Oh no, he's coming. He is coming again. Yeah, he just goes back up into heaven. They're all down with that.
Okay.
Death, resurrection, ascension. They're okay with that, and the second coming is all on the table. Okay. So in the meantime, then the church that he has just established gets corrupted again.
Dadgummit.
I know, the people are rebellious. The church gets corrupted with power and politics and falls back into apostasy. And they call this the Great Apostasy. This is the Catholic Church. This is all the denominations, the Reformation, all this stuff that we've covered. All this. It's the Great Apostasy.
And
I gotcha.
this is universal? All Mormons believe this?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
It's in their books.
Oh.
Yeah. The doctrines and the covenants and the pearl of great price and all the stuff.
You just blow my mind hole, man.
So here's the deal, though, because Jesus knows, and God the Father and his wife both know, that the world is going to come to an end.
Yeah.
Because Jesus is going to come again soon. Now, and when it comes, the world's going to be done away with. I mean,
it's in that whole sealed
boom.
portion.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So things are about to get really bad. So this is what one of God's strategies is. He helps the Europeans to cross the ocean, to take over North America, to colonize the land, to create a country with freedom of religion. This sets the table for Joseph Smith to be born and called as a prophet to restore the church.
Gotcha.
All of this stuff in history was to lead up to this one guy,
Joseph Smith.
Yes, the eternal
prophet,
the light bulb. Yeah.
So,
what
is God's wife's name?
We don't know. I wasn't told. There might be a name, but I wasn't told.
I'm struggling with this.
This is all straight from the mouth of a former Mormon who is just about 3 or 4 years removed. So all of that happened so that Joseph Smith could be born and called to restore Jesus' church. Hence the first vision. God and Jesus appear to him. The apostles appear. They lay hands on him. They give him the authority and the commission and the tablets, all this stuff to restore the church. So Moroni, is the angel of God that comes down to show him how to do this and give him the tablets and give him the ability to translate all this stuff. And so then he gets this, revelation that they are not supposed to stay there, that they're supposed to move west, and everything becomes about Zion then. And he lays this whole thing out. It's all from God and all this stuff. And so they go to Ohio, then they go to the Garden of Eden in Missouri, and they end up in Illinois. Takes on other wives because the angel told him.
Of course.
It's like they moved to Mexico and it's Utah, and that's the deal. But how you doing so far?
I'm hanging in there. How does the polygamy fit into the mix? Besides, I get that it told Joseph to take multiple wives.
Yeah.
Why does that allow all of them to take multiple?
Because,
and can they take another man's wife?
I don't know about that part, but at the time when the angel appeared to Joseph, he also gave him the authority to give that authority to his inner circle.
So why can't they take another man's wife?
Well, maybe they can. I just don't know the answer to that.
Where's it like you?
Yeah,
you're marrying me.
Maybe that's why they're always teenagers.
Well, but many of these 40 wives of Joseph Smith were not. They'd been married for a while.
Well, I mean, if you got a lot of wives, I guess you can make more light bulbs.
That's exactly what it's all about,
Yeah,
I guess.
he's like, Betty is a good cook. She's old, but she cooks well. Betty.
Yeah.
At least I'm going to eat good, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But they have this idea of this sealing process, and they will call it celestial marriage.
Wow.
That it comes from God and his wife in the universe, and near Kolob or whatever that that star is.
Is polygamy legal in Utah?
It was forever, and it's not illegal. It's not legal anywhere anymore.
But you because we were talking about this the other day. So when they get married, the first time, I'm sure they go through the steps and get the marriage license and do all those things. When they get married, the next few times they get married, but they don't do a marriage license, I'm assuming.
That's the way they do it now. Though the very fundamentalist groups will they call it celestial marriage. They have a little, the rule is you got to be married in a Mormon temple.
Yeah.
And so it's closed to outsiders. In fact, there was read a story of one mother who came out of the church, and her husband stayed in, and she wasn't able to witness the weddings of her children.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the way it is.
That's just wild to me. And I mean, they literally all live under the same roof.
Yeah.
Is that like the Sister Wives show?
Yeah, absolutely it is. Yeah. that one particular strain of Mormonism. Yeah.
That's crazy.
I know it is. And, but it's all, it's all this divine revelation. God told me, revealed to me. And so, it started with Joseph Smith, and then it's like the elders are like, hey, can we get in on this thing? Because, and he's like, yeah, an angel showed up yesterday and told me it was okay.
Yeah. He's like, I've been eyeing Ezekiel's wife.
Yeah, let any of us try that with our wife. Look, baby, the angel told me, get out.
Yes.
Get out. That's what he told you.
Yes.
No, it'd be the angel told me.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I wouldn't even get that far.
Frying pan to the head.
That's exactly it.
Wow.
So it was fascinating to me. Well, okay, so this is kind of how they build their brand and build their wealth, is they keep everything in-house. And everybody's tight-lipped about everything. You're not allowed to in fact, they don't want you talking about the magic underwear, and they don't want you.
Oh yeah. What is the magic underwear? Yeah. I haven't heard about this.
So, part of the deal is we're put into these human bodies so that we can go through the tests of earth, right? And so it is obedience, but it's also these I think they have 4 different categories of doctrines and rituals that you have to step your way through.
Yeah.
And one of them, a big one, is baptism. And
at 8 years old. Is it at 8?
It's typically at 8 years old, yes. Yeah. But if you convert to Mormonism later, of course, you can be baptized then. But they when you reach a certain level, then you get your temple garment, is what they call it. And so it literally is kind of a bodysuit, kind of, loosely fitting. It's your temple garment, and you put your clothes on over it.
All the time?
So if you were to walk into, you wouldn't be able to, but if you were to walk into a Mormon temple, into the inner, part, everybody be sitting there with their temple garment on.
Oh, they just hang out in their temple garment?
No, they have their clothes on over it.
Oh.
You wouldn't know, but they have the secret underwear on. And you go like,
why?
Because it's holy to them. They go like, well, priests have robes. We have all kinds of religious garments.
Yeah.
Why are you so freaked out about this underwear?
So they wear it all at the time?
Yeah, absolutely. They wear it all the time, unless they're doing something that would require you not to wear it.
Like going swimming.
Yeah, we're going swimming. No, certain types of athletics. Work. Things like that. And of course, and it was so funny because I
Is this the Melchizedek priesthood ordination?
No, I don't. I think that's a different deal. But this guy says this actually is a Mormon, and he's sort of debunking some of the criticisms, and he says, of course, when my children were conceived, I did not have my temple garment on.
Yeah. So you been married multiple times or got multiple wives?
So. I don't think so.
So the biggest hang up probably for me, the big red alarm is the fact that Jesus is a man.
Yeah.
I feel like because that is, would you not say that that's a death blow in terms of salvation?
Anything that lowers Jesus to a created being.
Yeah.
It's not Christian. It can't be. Jesus is the Son of God. If Jesus is not the Son of God, then we have a works-based religion.
But don't they consider him the Son of God?
No. I mean, well, yeah.
But when
we say the Son of God, we say the essence of God.
Yeah. They're saying physical offspring of God.
Yeah, below God.
Yeah.
It has to be below God because
so they don't recognize the Trinity.
No. They recognize the three beings.
This says it's three distinct beings.
Yeah.
And the Father and Jesus have perfected, glorified physical bodies, while the Holy Ghost is a spirit without a physical body.
That's right.
But this is modalism, because it's believing they're not even modalism.
No, because
because modalism would be one entity taking on three different forms.
It's Arianism.
See, but they don't believe they're all the same level, though.
Right.
They can't.
Yeah, Jesus would be below God.
Because Jesus was one of our brothers that volunteered to go die on the cross for us.
Yeah,
That's a problem.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a big problem.
It is. it absolutely is.
So they just completely reject the Nicene Creed.
Oh yeah, no, they are anti-Nicene.
Yeah, they are not. This says right here,
anti-Apostles' Creed.
It says they are the same. The Nicene Creed says they are the same substance or being the Trinity is. Mormons do not believe that.
Let me ask you this. Let's say, just for argument's sake, what if they said Jesus was was the Trinity, was like the same as God and all that, and he was the essence of God that came down on earth? Yep. What if they recognized that part of it, but they still had all the other weird parts included? Would their salvation be okay?
In some sense, yes, but in some sense, no.
Yeah.
Because here's the reason why. Because it's if you could separate the two, then you could say, oh yeah, well, if they're Trinitarian and if they believe, in whatever kind of definition of the atonement you believe in, it's okay,
Yeah.
But the problem is, if you change that, all this other stuff down here changes.
Yeah. Yeah.
In fact, most Christian denominations, even the mainline ones, will not recognize a Mormon baptism because it has nothing about the same meaning that we ascribe to baptism.
Yeah.
And baptism is so important to their theology that they actually baptize 4 dead people. So if a person dies and they were not, child dies, no baptism, then you better go in and get baptized for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
This says Mormons use the term omnipotent to describe God and regard him as the creator, but they understand him as a being almighty and eternal, but subject to eternal natural law, which governs intelligence, justice, and the eternal nature of God, i.e., God organized the world but did not create it from nothing.
So God is not all powerful.
I would say that statement alone is heresy.
Yeah. Well, he didn't create it from nothing. So who made the something that he created it with?
That's what I'm saying. Like it.
Wow.
And are they not minimizing God's power?
Yeah, diminishing it for sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, really, I just.
What do you expect when you get your theology out of a hat?
Well, it's a very convenient theology, honestly, because you can once again create this whole system. If God the Father has a wife and is not all powerful, if Jesus is one of our brothers. If we're going to, be able to transform back into eternal light balls and go start our own, Zion out somewhere out in the universe. I mean, those are all, to people who really embrace that. And there's multiple ways of making people, making that palatable to people.
Yeah.
Then it's very convenient because all I got to do is make sure I check all these boxes.
Yeah.
I ride my bike for 2 years. I abstain from all these things. I'm sealed with this and I'm sealed with that. And and then it's like, hey, I'm good to go. I'm going to the third heaven.
Oh, and I know some guys that are Mormon that are very normal.
Absolutely.
Like, hey, they just, you would not know.
Yeah,
You honestly wouldn't know they're Mormons.
So I think I cracked the code, y'all. This is how we get people to get dedicated. Let's just start giving them some boxes to check. Like, hey, come sit up at the church and, we need you to put out chairs. And
there are, Westboro Baptist does that.
Yep. They got dedicated people too.
They do.
Catholics do that.
Yeah.
They sit down and stand up 95 times.
That's exactly right. You got to go to confession. You got to,
Catholics don't skip leg day.
Well, but here's the deal too. Like with Catholics, we talked about this. They have all of the means of grace, and so it's the Eucharist, it's the confessional. These are all the means. You don't get grace through any other method.
Yeah.
You can't just run out there and ask for grace.
Yeah.
It has to come through the priest. It has to come through the church. It has to come through everything. And the same thing with this. Revelation has to come through the prophet.
Yeah.
And if it's not Joseph Smith because he jumped out of a window, then it's going to be Brigham Young.
Got shot twice.
Yeah. And then if it's not Brigham Young, you go down the list. That's the prophet.
With all of these that we have covered, there's a bottleneck. There's always a bottleneck. You have to go through this method
absolutely
to reach something
absolutely
else. There's a bottleneck.
And we've got the truth, the real truth. And this guy that I was watching kept saying this over and over again, and he's not a religious person anymore, and that's heartbreaking, honestly.
Yeah,
because that distorted, corrupted version of pseudo Christianity just ruined him forever.
Well, that's how the guy that I was listening to in the podcast, he left the Mormon church and he renounced everything. And it took him, he said it took him years before he came back around, and he's a Christian now.
Oh, that's good. Maybe that will happen. This guy's only 3 to 4 years out.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This dude's been out for a long time.
But it cracks me up too, because this guy, he's a little bit salty about the criticisms of the Mormon church. He says, it's funny because it says Garden of Eden was in Missouri. Why not? Why can't it be there? Jesus has children with his wives. Again, no, this is not possible. Jesus is married to a goddess wife. No. God lives near a planet called Kolob. No. And he just goes, no. And then we get to Mormons will become gods. Yeah. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? And he quotes some scriptures there, and he says, and then he says, as an apostle of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints put it recently, God is not interested in his children just becoming trained and obedient pets who will not chew on his slippers in the celestial living room. No, God wants his children to grow up spiritually and join him in the family business.
So he would not appreciate this episode.
No, he will not. He ever sees it. But here's kind of my end point and my bottom line here. Yeah. And I so appreciated this little discourse that this young man spit out that I wrote it down. And he says, this was his final statement. And he says, Joseph Smith was a charismatic leader who knew how to tell stories about magic and visions and treasures. He'd known how to do that since he was a teenager, well before he decided he was going to become a prophet. He found an audience in doing this, attracted people to him with his visionary skills, and used those skills to invent a complex set of stories about Native Americans actually being Israelites, about heavenly parents preparing the world for its end, and about the priesthood, this authority that we all must participate in to receive the rituals and ordinances that only one church can administer. Eventually, he used these stories to build a movement around his vision that allowed him to take 40 wives, build an army, break the laws, and bully his enemies. This is the same old story of a charismatic, visionary man who tells a story of apocalyptic endings to gain followers and gain power, then decides that he deserves a lot of women, then dies for the cause, leaving a movement behind that continues his vision. Some of those communities become dogmatic. They all use shame to keep their people in line, but they all revere their prophet long after he's dead.
And that's the bottom line. Because Brother Peter said so.
Yes, it is. An angel came to me last night. I mean,
and that's spot on.
So I struggled with this one to say, okay, do we call this a cult or just an alternative religion?
I think it's a cult.
What do you think, Pat?
They're definitely crazy. So yeah, I'm going cult.
Yeah, I think it's a cult. I mean, the way that they lure people in and have so much control makes me think cult.
Seriously, trying to be devil's advocate here. Like, I would guarantee that a large number of this community is born into it.
Yeah.
And this is all they know. You know, like, this is what they were raised in. This is what they have no reason to question it. But I come back to always to the root, right? Like, how do we get people to fall in line with this? And I think Peter nailed it when he said, Joseph Smith was a charismatic leader. He was a great storyteller, and he knew exactly what to say to get people to bite in.
And he might have been just nutty enough to actually believe it.
That's what I almost wonder if he just didn't believe it himself.
And then, I think also, about all the episodes we've done about the Elohim and the little G gods and all this stuff. Who's this Moroni cat?
But see,
and what are these? How did he help him write all of these elaborate, All
right, so they believe in these celestial places.
Yeah.
All right, and there's got to be some kind of scientific element to that. But you're going to say the Israelites are Native Americans, but they don't have a problem with this whole 23andMe thing, where you can understand where your heritage comes from, and Native American is its own genesis of people way apart from Middle Eastern. Like, there's no genetic makeup whatsoever.
Well, and also the only record of Israelites coming to the Americas is found in the Book of Mormon and some bizarre Hebrew Israelite movement. That there's no evidence.
Yeah.
There's just zero. Some angel came and told me this, and I wrote it down in this book. And so now it is more important than the King James Bible.
Well, what about, I think, I always a lot of times harken back to the demonic influence.
I know.
And that's where I'm like, all right, because I think a lot of us, if we initially think demonic influence or demons, you would almost want to say the Church of Satan would be the direction they go.
Right.
But really, this would be more the speed of what the demons would want to do, because how many more people are drawn to this than they would be? The Church of Satan is so extreme.
Yeah.
You're going to pull more. I mean, this sounds crazy to us, but look at how it's drawn people and grown.
Do you think that the enemy, demons, Elohim, whatever you want to call them, whichever degree you want to call them, do you think that they're going to go after this extreme movement over here that's labeled Satan? Or are they going to take well-intentioned or less intelligent, ignorant people? And I'm not saying Mormons are ignorant or any of that. I'm just saying people.
Yeah.
And then devise things to be charismatic.
Yeah.
Well, and Lucifer, the angel of light, right?
All the light balls.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, this looks good. It feels good. It sounds good.
Got the name Jesus in the name.
They're more clean and shiny than any of the other people around them.
Yeah.
Why does this line up more with Isaiah 14 instead of the rest of Scripture, though? Like, this is what's blowing my mind. Like, this sounds very much like I will be like the Father. I will ascend like the Most High. I will be. They
it's
call
like
them the
you
five,
make yourself an idol.
Well, they call them the 5 I will statements of Satan.
I know.
Yeah.
And this sounds very, very similar to that.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's all, if I do all the right things and check all the right boxes, I will get to the highest level of heaven. and
get to meet God's wife.
and I mean,
And if you're a polygamist, who knows, man? Maybe you got a shot.
Yeah, you might. That's true.
But-
If he's your
just
equal.
just the fact that there are levels of heaven.
Yeah.
That's troubling to me.
Yeah.
I mean, and plus, who ends up on the second floor, right?
I know.
Because
That's
like
exactly
first floor,
right.
you're a gardener. Top floor, you're
Yeah.
the top dog.
So like
middle class heaven, right?
you got your middle child syndrome right
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Well, the guy in that podcast I listened to, he did say, he would talk about the songs that they would sing. He said they
Yeah.
teach the kids
Oh
songs.
yeah.
And he said it would tell you the works that you had to do. He said
Exactly.
they would be like, these are the things that I have to do in order to be a more like, yeah.
And there's a song called "Praise to the Man."
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's all about Joseph Smith.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So they made an idol out of Joseph.
There's a hymn in their hymn book. Yeah.
Man, I'm going cult,
Yeah.
and the guys, they need to get out of there and get saved.
I don't think that they are ignorant people. I think they have been deceived.
Yes.
I really do.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that we have the corner on the market. I'm not saying we have everything right, do everything right. I do think that Christianity in its purest form, at whatever level, whatever you want to dress it up in, at its core is the way,
Yeah.
the truth, and the life.
Yeah, for sure. I would say that we all have our own brand of idiots.
Oh,
You know,
completely.
there's Christian idiots, Catholic idiots.
I have
the
been
whole
one.
nine.
I hope I'm growing out of it eventually. You know.
I've tried, but I just keep falling.
Oh man, but you know, we're trying to be followers of Jesus to the best of our ability, and
Yeah.
we recognize that there's no box that we can check that's going to make us good enough, and there's no sin that we can commit that will make us bad enough.
And we don't own the market on theology, but
No.
we will tell you where we land.
But I will tell you, the way, the truth, the life is not Joseph Smith.
No, it's
Just-
it's through Jesus and only Jesus.
And I tell you, I'm glad that it ain't works based for me to get into
Oh,
heaven.
my
Man,
goodness.
I'd be in trouble.
I would just quit.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would just quit and live like hell on wheels.
Yep.
And and I would also say too, a Trinitarian belief is the core value of our faith.
Yeah, absolutely it
Yeah.
is, because out of it springs everything. It is the way to to gain truth from the Bible. You know, all of the Bible points to Jesus, and you know, in the beginning God, and you know, you just see it all. It all begins to come together that way.
Yep.
And you don't have to make up anything, and you don't have to get all these special revelations. And Lord, you can stick with one woman and just be okay with
Yeah,
it.
Yes.
and if you get a golden book, melt that sucker down because it's like
That's worth a lot
Yeah,
right
I think
now.
it's like $3,200 an ounce right now.
Yeah, gold is really
Yeah.
valuable.
All right.
So-
Yeah.
So I'm saying cult. Pat's saying cult. All right.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So you tell us what you think. And once again, remember, we're not denigrating anybody. We're not slandering anybody. We're just looking at a system of beliefs that really is a little bit kooky and a little bit troubling. So.
Any hateful emails, direct them to Peter Jeffrey.
Or
Yes.
REVERENT at hollygrovechurch.com.
Yeah, CC Logan Hanks on that.
I'm going to tell you now, if you, we do want your comments and reviews and all those things we said earlier.
Yeah.
If you comment a hateful comment, don't be surprised.
He said,
If
I
you
will
get
respond with snarkism.
if you get an interesting response back, because I've been known to have some snarky responses in my day.
Yeah, I believe you coined it as snarkism.
An angel's going to reveal some stuff to Logan.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So let us know what you think. This has been a fun time,
Yeah.
and I'm going to have to go take off my
Spectacles.
Omen and my
chocolate
Thurman
ones,
and all
yeah.
this stuff, and I'm going to exactly
Yep.
wear my head.
Logan's going to go look into his hat.
That's right. All right, guys. Y'all have a good one.
See you.